everyone, it's Happymailqueen. So a couple of you guys are asking me to do a tutorial on how I made my policy envelopes and also the box envelope, this one right here that I created. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I made some of these. Let's go ahead and bring out some paper. So here's a 12 by 12 paper. We're gonna go ahead and just cut off that top section there. Okay, and right now this is creating a large policy envelope with one 12 by 12 paper. So let's go ahead and start with a 12 by 12. Okay, so usually when I create my policy envelope, it depends on the size I'm making, but if you're going to make a really large one, okay, and without having to do a whole lot of measurements, this is what I do. And I think I learned this from somebody who was doing a tutorial. It could have been Anna, Serenity Creations. And you just kind of eyeball it, okay? So this 12 by 12, you're just going to basically like gatefold it, with just keeping in mind that you're going to overlap them, okay? Because you have to glue the metal obviously together. So you just kind of eyeball it, and I do about 1/2 inch overlap. And so just kind of eyeball that it's going to be about 1/2 inch overlap right there. You see that, right? And then we're just going to fold it without having to really score it. Okay, and you just kind of make sure, the main thing is to make sure that the top is flush. It's lined up with the other paper. And this is like the easiest way that I found to do it too, without having to do a whole lot of measuring. Okay, and then I just fold that over like so. Okay, like that. So when you're done, it should be about, because that's only 1/2 inch, so it's probably going to be only about 5 3/4 inch. There you go, 5 3/4 inch wide. Okay, that's doing a 12 by 12. Now, as far as the flaps, you know you're going to have a flap up here and a flap down here, right? So depending on how wide you want to make the flap down here, usually I just do like a 1/2 inch. It just depends on what I'm putting in there inside it, okay? And if it's going to fit. So usually I'll either do a 1/2 inch flap on the bottom or a 3/4 inch. So let's just say we want to do a 3/4 inch, since this is kind of a big envelope, so you kind of want it to look, you know, I don't know, nicer. So instead of 1/2 inch, we're going to do 3/4 inch. What does that look like, 1/2 inch? Okay. So this is about 3/4 inch. I'm just going to go ahead and just, this is thin paper, so I'm just doing both. If you want, you can open it and then score it that way. You can do that too. And then the top, I usually almost always do 2 inches on top. Again, depends. If I'm trying to fit something in there that's like 1/2 inch, you know, bigger than, or 1/2 inch smaller, then I can make this a little bit longer here. Okay, I don't want to mix you guys up, so let's just say 2 inches, okay? And that gives you plenty of room to like put your fasteners, your what is that? Velcros. Okay, so I always keep that in mind, you know, 1/2 inch on top, either 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch on the bottom. So about the only scoring that I do. So go ahead and fold the scored areas. I mean, you know, where you scored, go ahead and fold that over. And you can use your bone folder if you want. I see I didn't even do that straight. Sorry. I didn't press it down very much when I scored it, so. Okay, so take note, maybe open it and then score it, because I didn't do that. Okay, we're just gonna pretend that I did this right. Okay. Let me just make sure that it's still gonna line up. Okay. All right, so just kind of score that and then score your flap on the top. Not score, but fold and burnish. Fold and burnish. And I'm doing this so you guys can see the crease better. So there you go, right? That's the top, that's the bottom. Okay, so then you want to take your scissors. And where are mine? I will just do this one. Okay. We're going to take our scissors. We're going to basically cut this panel off and this panel off. And this is going to remain in the middle because that's the flap that's going to fold over. Okay? And then the top, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to remove the two side panels so you can fold this over, right? Okay, and if you have a corner chomper, I like to usually, just to make it look a little bit more like a policy envelope, I like to round the corners, if you like, or if you're gonna stitch it and you don't wanna deal with that rounded corner, because then you have to round your stitching, you can just cut it at an angle if you want. I think I actually did that for my last policy envelopes that I made. But if you're just going to glue this down, then you would glue it down. If you're going to do your stitching, don't glue it down yet. Sorry, I got to cut this part. Don't glue it down yet. Do your stitching now. So you'll stitch here, here, and here. You can stitch here too if you want. Not close, but you're going to open this, okay? Open it and then do your stitching here, here. You can stitch here. I would just stitch one side because it's going to overlap anyway and you're not going to see the other stitch, right? And then do your stitching here. You can do a stitch right here also if you want that nice look. Okay, and that's how you would do it. And then you would go ahead and put your fastener here and your fastener here. Actually, I put the fastener here. I go ahead and stick the other one on with the sticky side up and then fold it over so it lands on the correct spot. Hope I made sense there. So that's how you make that, okay? And then you just either glue this down or, like I said, you know, you can stitch it first. Okay, so that's how you create that policy envelope. Now, what if you wanted a specific size and you didn't want to, you know, you don't have a full 12 by 12. So let's say I'm doing a mini album and I want to put a little small policy envelope inside that measures 4 by 5 inch, okay? And the way I figure it out is, let me just, let's say I want a 4 by 5, okay? Let me just refocus that. Okay. 4 by 5 inch policy envelope. So there's my little drawing of a policy envelope. The way I figure out, well, what size paper do I need? You know that the top part, okay, is 2 inches, right? 2-inch flap on top. Okay, and we're talking about the height here, okay? 2 inches here. You know you want the size of your height to be 5 inch. So that's 2 inches. Here's your 5 inch. Okay, that's the size of the envelope when assembled. So you're gonna, and then you're gonna have a 1/2 inch flap. So you know you're gonna need at least 5 plus 2 inches, 7, plus 1/2 inch, which is the flap on the bottom. You need at least 7.5 inch height. Okay, that's the height of your paper. For the width, you know you're gonna fold this over, and you want it to be 4 inches, right, wide. So you're gonna double that because it's gonna fold over, and you need at least 8 inches, right, for the front and the back. And then you have that overlap that is 1/2 inch. This middle part here that's gonna overlap, which you're gonna do 1/2 inch overlap. So you know you're gonna have to double this 4 inches, so it's gonna be 8 inches, and then that 1/2 inch overlap, so that's 8.5. And that's how I kind of figure out, well, if I'm doing a specific size, then that's how I measure it. So then I end up cutting a piece of cardstock that's 8.5 inch wide. So this is 8.5 inch wide. Let me just show you. So your width again is going to be 8.5 inch. Okay, you're going to cut. There's your 8.5 inch. You're going to cut this. That's the width, and then your height. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to the pattern if you have a pattern on your paper. The height is going to be 7.5 inches, and you're going to do that. Then you're going to score the bottom 1/2 inch, right? So go ahead and put that 1/2 inch score mark on there. You're going to score that 1/2 inch, and then you know that the top part is 2 inches of a flap. So you can do 2 inches. Sorry, 2 inches. You're going to score that. And then you're going to, this is the top flap. Sorry. Okay, so there's your 2 inch flap on the top, 1/2 inch on the bottom. You're going to do the same thing. You do that fold. Okay. You're going to cut the side panels again. And I'll be stitching this one, so I'm not going to adhere it right now. Now, you probably want to know how I made the other policy envelope that is more of a box style. For that, since the one I made is a very specific size, because let me just show you that. I wanted to create this to house a paper pad. So that's why I made it a box, because I needed it to be that thick. And this is a 6 by 8 paper pad inside. And so I needed to make a box that was going to fit that. So for this one, again, my flap measures 1/2 inch. I'm pretty sure it's 1/2 inch. Hold on. Not 1/2 inch. I keep saying 1/2 inch. 2 inches. Okay. But it's a box, so there's this extra 1/2 inch here. Okay. And then this is still 1/2 inch though. So the bottom part is the same. Okay. But it's 2 pieces. So it's 2 pieces that I put together and it overlaps here. So it's like there's a flap here connected to this one, and there's another flap going that way connected to the front panel. Does that make sense? So they kind of overlap like this. And that's how I made it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I think I actually used a full 2 12 by 12s. I mean, I did cut it down still. Okay. So remember, when you're making a box, you have to do your side panels, or let's cut this out first. This little piece here. Okay, I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so I hope I remember how I did it. Okay, so I made 1/2 inch. Let's just measure this real quick. This is 6 inch wide. Okay, 6 inch wide. But it has a flap here on this side, and it has a flap here on this side. So, and each of them are 1/2 inch. So we're gonna do 6. So our width is gonna have to be 7 inches. Okay, 6 inches plus 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch. Okay, so you're gonna cut this width. And this is the width of the paper. You're gonna cut this at, what did I say? 7 inches. So we're gonna do 7 inches here. Okay, and then go ahead and might as well just do your scoring right now too. Go ahead and score 1/2 inch on each side. Since I have the measurements on this side too, I'm going to do 1/2 inch here. And I'm going to flip this over and do another 1/2 inch flap. Okay. Now I know the bottom part is also going to be 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do another 1/2 inch. And on the top, my flap is always 2 inches, right? So this is the top. This is going to be 2 inches. But remember, this is a box. So I need to add that 1/2 inch right here. That's going to fold, right? Because this is going to be my flap. But then I'm going to have another, I need to make it gusseted, right? I need to have that 1/2 inch box, like the top has to be 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is only half of it. This is like the back panel. Okay, so you can do your fold lines now, or you can do it later, but okay. So it's like making a box, you guys. You're basically gonna cut the 2 little corners off, and you're gonna miter your, well, did I miter mine? I don't think I did. So for now, we're not gonna miter it. Meaning we're not gonna cut at an angle, we're just gonna remove that little, actually I'm gonna leave that little, because when you create a box, you actually leave that on. because it's gonna fold. It's gonna go like that, right? I could have cut the slit the other way, but oh well. It's gonna be like that, right? Like a box. Now this part here, you are gonna cut this off completely. So it's gonna look like that. Okay, now with your next 12 by 12, and usually I do the same coordinating paper. So, you know, it looks nice and cohesive. Okay, so again, your width, you're gonna cut at what, 7 inches? Right? 7 inches? Yes. So you're basically cutting off, okay, 7 inches. And then again, where's my bottom? Yeah, this is the bottom. You're going to do 1/2 inch on the bottom. 1/2 inch score line. And then your top, now you don't need another flap on the top, right? Because you only need 1 flap on the top. So on the top of this one, you can actually just completely cut it off. So you're gonna cut off, sorry, I'm gonna switch it over like this so you can see better. You're gonna cut off 2.5 inch. I'm gonna do it here instead of like scoring and then cutting that part off. Okay, you're gonna cut 2.5 inch off the top, and then you're also gonna score your side 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And I'm gonna show you this in a minute how this is looking, because it's kind of hard to see with the pattern paper, but you have 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch score line, and then we cut off 2.5 inch from the top. Okay, and then burnish that down. And this is gonna become the front panel. But first you want to, let's see, how do I want to cut the slit? I think I want to just, I'll keep it on just because, and since I cut the slit this way, I'll just do the same on this side. You can cut that off, or you can just keep it on and just kind of reinforce it, but you would go ahead and glue these two. Now before you do this, you could stitch this together. You can stitch here, stitch down here, okay? You might have to kind of manipulate this a little bit and fold it to fit in your sewing machine. But you can stitch the bottom part here, or you can stitch this part along. I think I stitched the sides actually. So you can do like a double stitch like I did here, like 2 stitch parallel to each other. And did I stitch down this way? I might have. Oh, I didn't even stitch to the, see how I stitched that? Just 2 stitches all the way down. So this part you can stitch together. I think what I did was I put an adhesive in the middle that's very thin. I did this in the middle because my stitching is going to be around or here on the sides, right? So you can do that. Make sure you're going to be able to fold this, okay? Like so. You can do that and then stitch here. Now the other side you can't really, because once you have this part, you know, you can't stitch this together. So what I did is I just stitched one panel and then I glued this together. Because that's the only way you're gonna be able to stitch this part. And then here on the bottom, you can do your stitching again. Just one panel because the other one is just gonna overlap with it, right? I think I'm just going to cut, actually. You can cut one of these off. It's just easier. So you're not dealing with too many flaps. Just cut this little piece off. I was leaving it on just for reinforcement so that it's, you know, it's doubled, but you don't need to. Okay, so you're going to stitch and then you're going to glue this down. So I hope this is helpful to you guys. It's kind of hard for me to videotape the whole stitching thing, but so I'm not going to stitch this right now. But I think you pretty much get it. I'm just angling it, that's all I'm doing here. Kind of looks better. Okay, but that's how your box is going to look. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. And once you have it stitched, then it's going to look like this. And it just depends on how you really want to stitch it. I didn't even stitch this part right here, but you can if you want that look. I stitched that like that. I stitched that like that, including the sides here. But on this one, I didn't do the side. I just stitched 2 stitches along. 2 stitches down there, and you can't see any stitching in the back. Okay, but that is how I created those 2 policy envelopes. So I hope this was helpful to you. There's the other one. Okay, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!